This is Housebound. I'm Chris.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlynn.
I'm Greg.
And you're invited. Welcome to Housebound, a podcast we made because we needed company. Wow, botch that. In this podcast, we talk about what's on our mind that day, and today we're talking about bad dining experiences or food mishaps. We'll get around to deciding what we want to call it at a later point. I'm not going to put all of that in the title, but for those of you that are watching this, because we did record this with video, thanks for joining us on Facebook, or probably that's where you're watching it. And we were just testing out a fancy new setup that somebody I know owns, and they were willing to let us borrow. So we've got different microphones and a board and cameras and
it's
all kinds of things.
Very complicated.
Yeah, and so we'll and so like when we're staring at the wrong camera, like I'm like talking to you like over here. Hi, how's it going? I'm just like, oh, he's not making eye contact with me. But for those of you that are listening, that all meant nothing. So so today we're going to talk about just experiences negatively. Negatively in nature. That
we're a little frazzled.
Yeah, that it's very exciting to be doing something hopefully in one take.
Yes,
So we're going to be talking just a little bit about whether that's in restaurant experiences or home cooking mishaps or something like that. So I know that Greg has at least one story, so maybe he can start us off.
Okay.
And you can kind of give some background and take it from there.
Sure. Probably the main story that comes to mind in terms of, for sure, a food mishap was when essentially my brothers and I were all living in the same place during university, and we kind of had like a food schedule. So like you make a supper this day, and then you'll make it this day, and then we also have leftovers from that, so then we don't have to make supper this day. We can just kind of fend for ourselves from what remains.
Right.
And we had bought potatoes, and we had a plethora of milk and cheese, and I was thinking of doing this casserole dish.
Okay.
And
we're all
milk?
We're all like, wait, this all sounds okay.
Yeah,
it sounds like mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it really does.
Like creamy mashed potatoes.
I put it in a casserole dish and threw it in the oven. And what ended up coming out of the oven, like, bless my brothers, because they just ate it without too much.
They didn't say anything?
Like, I said, you guys don't have to eat this. But essentially, I took it out of the oven, and the potatoes were still not cooked. They were, like, fairly raw.
They were hard?
And then it was just this soupy milk liquid at the bottom with like sprinkled cheese kind of scattered about. And I don't know what I did to cause the recipe to go so wrong. But, and I think we were also on a bit of a time crunch, so we just had to eat it. So,
were you working from a recipe, or is this just made up from your head?
No, I was working from a recipe, and there was more to it than just those three ingredients.
It sounds like mashed potatoes.
Well, it sounds like maybe scalloped potatoes.
Yeah, it was
like if they weren't
Were they whole
if you had
potatoes?
like they were like chopped
cooked all the way
into
through.
like chunks. So
I
think
like diced potatoes.
I think they may have been diced.
If you
Yeah,
had like lots of garlic powder, it'd be more like scalloped potatoes.
Well, scalloped is just like cutting it into
Yeah.
dollars, right? Like slices.
I'm sure that there's many different ways to make scalloped potatoes.
Well, I'm sure.
Definitely, because the way that you showed me once that you made years ago was not incredibly different, but significantly different from how my grandma and mom make them versus how I don't even know if I've had the other side of the family make them. But yeah, like they're similar, but there's differences. So I mean, like that could be whatever. It could be fine. So
But they were hard.
There was definitively multiple errors that I must have made in making it because just imagine just tasting like hard, slightly warmed potatoes in like lukewarm milk sauce that's sprinkled with these like stringy melted cheesy bits
milk sauce
that just like doesn't really have any great flavor in it. And so
that's too bad.
And after that I was just like, I'm done experimenting with any kind of new recipe. I'm keeping it to just what I know best, which was chicken fried rice and pancakes.
You've almost kept that vow to this day,
Nice.
unfortunately.
Pretty much.
Two recipes for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very
No, you've
good.
expanded recently.
Well, if you can make milk
Briefly,
sauce,
yeah.
you can probably make soup.
Well, I couldn't make milk sauce. That's my problem.
But you did. You made milk sauce.
It was so bad. Anyways.
Well, he made it, but I don't think that's what he wanted to make. I think that's the point. You didn't want to
It-
make a milk sauce.
So yeah,
It,
Like, he was just supposed to make them creamy, probably.
yes.
it was supposed to be edible, and it wasn't, so...
Yeah.
You now make a pretty good frittata.
Yeah, that's true. Sweet pea onion frittata, and I can say that, and it sounds really, like, high
sounds
quality.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
It
You
tastes
know?
not bad. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah. But
Nice.
there we go.
Yeah. I don't remember. So I didn't cook very much myself. Okay, that's not quite true. When I was young, my mom passed when I was 9, and so we had to cook for ourselves a lot. And so a lot of the cooking that we did was just like from Costco cordon bleus that you shoved in the oven for half an hour, or a pizza or whatever. And it was all really easy. And that's what my sisters and I did often. But there was this one time that my dad decided that he would cook for us. And
Which he didn't usually, because he was, you lived on a farm and he was always out.
well,
doing
yeah,
something,
he
so.
was working. So keeping us alive. But he was going to cook for us. And so my sister and I, specifically my middle sister and I. And so he made some eggs and they looked great. And he was like, scrambled eggs, how hard can it be? Right. And so he made these eggs, and my sister and I are sitting there, and we're not a particularly like polite family. So I think that he knew that something was up when Shalane and I didn't say anything, because we were like eating these eggs, and I was like, what, Dad, what is in these eggs? And he goes, well, sugar. Kids like sugar. And both Shalane and I were like, we're going to give these to the dog. Can we make something for you, Dad? And he's like, no, I'm going to eat the eggs. And,
Oh, no.
and he ate his share, but he
Still
was like,
stubborn
I
about
was
it,
like,
or-
did you like them? He's like, no. But that was the best, probably. I also, my grandma once made spaghetti for us. My grandma cooks very well. So this was just like a random weird fluky thing. But I do remember that she made spaghetti for us once and put so much salt into the water that the noodles were actually like extra salty.
Oh, wow.
Like
That takes a lot
so
of
much
salt.
salt. Yeah, I don't know. It was insane. But yeah, those are my actual cooking stories. I don't have.
You can't fix too salty.
No, we threw it away.
Yeah.
I don't know if we even gave it to the dog.
Not healthy.
I don't think I have that many bad cooking experiences of things that I made. Like there's dishes that I've made that I'm not going to make another time just because
Right.
I didn't love it or it was too much work, which is most of the time. But that's because I get almost all my recipes from just one website, and that is it. Budgetbites.com. Bites is spelled BYTES.
Oh, like it's because it's from the internet.
Yeah.
Very
and I
nice.
get like all my recipes from her because I like the kind of food that she makes, and now I just trust her. So it's like when she comes with the new one, I already have the ingredients. I know what she's going to make, and I trust her recipes. But I now struggle to make recipes from like cookbooks because you can't read reviews.
Oh, yes.
What if it's horrible?
Yeah.
There's no way to know.
Or what if it needs some tweaking?
Exactly.
Like people usually tell you
But,
online what needs tweaking.
If I were to think of a story of a time where somebody made food and it just didn't turn out, not going to name names, but it was Kelsey.
Come on, Kelsey.
Kelsey.
She attempted to make for me and some friends homemade eggnog over Christmas time. And she was making it in a different room, and we were all hanging out in the living room as she was making this homemade eggnog.
I have a question before you move
Yeah.
on. Eggnog, like, can you tell me what it actually is? Because I've never tasted it because it seems like a weird thing to drink.
Yes.
I did not make it.
Like, does it
Nog
always
of
have
egg.
alcohol in it? Is that
I
a
don't
thing?
think
No,
it
no, no,
normally
no.
does.
Oh,
No.
okay.
That's just, people just mix
People
it with.
throw that in there.
No, I think
Okay.
that there is there is egg in it naturally,
Okay.
and like a lot of like cream because it's a milk-based
Okay.
beverage, and
Gotcha.
some sugar.
Doesn't
not really
sound
sure
difficult.
how it's manufactured. But,
Okay.
Kelsey was making this recipe, and it was like tasting pretty weird. And she served it to us, the finished eggnog, and we took a sip, and we're like, "Oh, Kelsey, like
What is
this is crunchy."
Oh,
What?
Why? What?
Are the shells in it?
It was,
Did she put the shells
Well,
in
we
it?
didn't know what was going on, but it was crunchy. And she was like, well, it's super weird because the recipe asked for 12 thirds of a cup. And we're like, that's not
of
12
what?
thirds in a cup. That's
2
1 2/3.
12 of a cup of what? Sugar?
Sugar.
Oh, holy moly!
Shoot. That's a lot of
That was
sugar.
a lot of sugar. So there was 12 thirds of a cup of sugar
12 thirds
in the
of a cup.
eggnog.
How many cups is that actually?
Too many. Enough for it to be thoroughly crunchy because it was not dissolving anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, it looks like it's just sugar and eggs and vanilla.
That's
guess-
so funny.
Whipped cream.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Whipped?
Sorry. No, that's the
Whipping
what this
cream?
person is topping it with whipping cream.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Interesting.
Yum.
Yeah. Yum.
yeah. There is still cream. It's cream and milk, salt, nutmeg,
Yeah, it's
and
like
eggs and
spiced
sugar. Yeah,
egg
it's
milk.
like
with
And then
sugar.
So
Are you doing the math in your head?
No.
As to
Oh,
what
come
12
on,
thirds
somebody.
is gonna be.
I can't do it either.
No.
I don't understand.
12 thirds of a cup. How many is that? 4
That would be
cups.
4 cups.
Well,
It
that'd
should
be
be
like
more.
4
Oh,
times
we
whatever
did
the
it.
threes are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
So,
Now you're
Chris,
looking at me for my story.
Yeah.
I have a hard time thinking. Like, I can think of weird things that my parents did for meals that they just thought made meals better.
Yes.
That doesn't actually make it horrible. It just makes it weird. So I think I will. Well, no, okay. I'll tell some of those then because they're all really short and sweet.
Like
One
that
would
eggnog.
be
Yeah. Too sweet.
yeah.
Or my dad's eggs.
So one was when I was younger. We only lived like a minute or two from where our elementary school was growing up. So we would walk home for lunch pretty much every day. And my dad would often do, and Holly thinks it's disgusting, but I grew up with this, so I don't think it's disgusting.
I don't know what he's
My
talking
parents
about.
would like boil hot dogs. Like it'd just be
Oh,
like boiled
yes.
hot dogs.
Yuck.
So you do like
That's
boiled
fine.
hot dogs and then you cut them up and
No.
throw them on macaroni and cheese or whatever. But my dad would often do this thing where he would take the hot dog and cut it halfway up the middle and then cut it again so that there was 4 or 6 partitions. And then when you cook them, the bottom half would curl up a little bit and it would be like little octopuses.
I do that in the
yeah.
microwave though. And
Yeah,
then
and
they like cook and
so
get
when they get
like
crispy.
hard.
Yeah, so these are just so like that was one thing that I remember. My mom would always
Would it
not
gross you
always.
out to eat the little octopi?
No, it's just like, oh, it's fun looking hot dogs. It's like cutting your sandwich into a shape. Like it's still the sandwich, it's just in a different shape.
That's funny.
Yeah. It might weird me out as an adult because I know that when they came out with that multicolored ketchup for a while there, that was like green and
Oh, the
purple,
green and purple
and
stuff.
blue or whatever
Greg
3
is
colors
like,
it was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
People
But
did not buy
must
it.
have
Like
been
some people bought it.
non-country.
Oh, we bought it.
But
It was like-
the
we
weirdest
bought
thing
it
to
too.
eat because it was
Yeah.
just the unnerving because you're like, how do you know if this is bad?
Well, that's like when
I don't know how you'd know it was bad in the first place, but
your mom
well, that was going to be my my next thing.
Yeah.
Was that my mom would often, and I keep saying often, but not often. She
still does sometimes.
occasionally at event gatherings like Easter or Thanksgiving or Christmas. I think mostly just Easter and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
She would serve colored foods so that they looked like the season. So peas are green, so she would serve green peas. But then there's nothing that she can serve other than like beets that are red.
Yeah.
And so she would just put red food coloring into the mashed potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Or she
And then
would
the mashed potatoes are like hot pink. Because red food coloring
because red
never
doesn't
looks
work
red.
that well. It doesn't go well with white.
Yeah.
It's like you need a lot of it.
And it's okay if you're like eating at home. You can tell everybody it's just red mashed potatoes, and people are like, "That's weird," but
Which
all
I think
right.
that's the only places that she ever did that.
No, the first time I
church
encountered it
events.
was at a potluck at church, and I
Right.
was like, "What is that?"
Why?
because she wanted to be
and I
festive.
avoided it. But you need like a sign that says this is just dyed.
Yeah.
mashed potatoes or
Pink
rice.
for
There's
fun.
there's a
Yeah.
finger in
Yeah.
there somewhere. Find it.
Oh,
The
gross.
Halloween version.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
those were interesting. One food experience that really made me gag was actually, and typically, a youth group
yes.
event where they would just go. We had a McDonald's nearby where our youth group was, and so they went one night and they bought a bunch of Big Mac meals, and then they just blended each
it
one
out.
all together.
Oh, yeah.
And then me and one of my friends to this day, he was a leader at the time. He was like, "Oh, versus Chris in a
You
chugging
signed up for that?
contest," and I was like, "I guess so."
I'm really impressed with you.
Well, because
I don't
when
think
you
that you would
first,
do that
when
now.
you first
Impressive.
start
This
drinking
is
it,
weird.
it tastes like the
But
Coke.
it's Chris. He's not adventurous like that.
But I knew, like, a Big Mac meal, I know what's in it, and so I was
Right.
like, okay, it's for the team or whatever, right?
For the team.
And I think
it for the better good.
whoever drank more won
Solidarity.
something. So we
For us, it was $100 that we won. It was the $100 draw that like was
Bougie
leading
church.
up
Bougie indeed, yeah.
to that. Like it was a once a year thing, and
Yeah.
so every time you came to
$100
youth group,
to the
you would be
church
able to put your
bookstore?
name into the $100 thing.
draw.
So it would be to kind of incentivize you to come each week.
I see.
And then if you bring a friend, I think
Yeah.
you get an extra one in.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah. And so, but that was what it was, and I think I got up to like, but it was a bunch of different things. Like it wasn't just that; it was like rounds.
Yeah.
So
and one
yeah.
was like canned meat blended or something like that.
Yeah,
we always
like
had-
A meat smoothie does
yeah,
just
we always
not
had a
sound
meat
good.
smoothie.
There was actually what did it in for me though was the pitcher of water that I had to drink.
A whole pitcher.
A whole pitcher of water.
That's a lot.
What caused me to puke. It wasn't. It
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
a,
yeah,
a
'cause
thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Stomach
But
just
it was
can't
like
fit that much.
It was too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did that at home a couple of times. We had, like, my brothers and I would have, like, water chugging contests. We had these, like, clear plastic water jugs that fit, like, maybe 1.5 liters in it. And so we would chug it, and then my dad would be like, okay, now run to the tree in the backyard and back to the deck. And so then
yuck.
we would do it, so our stomachs would get,
Your
like,
dad
roiled
is
up.
just trying to make you puke.
Well,
like,
it's just like, I don't know. It was like in the middle of summer and there was nothing to do and it was in
nothing
the
to do.
evening, and so
Drink this water and run around.
we have photos of
Oh,
us
man.
sitting around the table with like root beer, like doing root beer
so
chugging
funny.
contests, but we only got through like 3 or 4
The worst though is
glasses.
like milk chugging contest.
Well, yeah, 'cause
because that
it's
just like is
a dairy
like
product as
royally
well.
not a good idea.
Yeah, it's terrible
But how
for
did
you.
how did it go with you and the?
In the
Well,
youth
I
group.
remember that I drank the most out of the two of us. I think they eventually just like it was slow going. Like we couldn't drink it fast.
No, because
So-
it would be all chunky.
Well, and so when you first drank it, it was like I can taste the Coke. It's like it tastes like a Coke milkshake, but then you taste the burger, and then you're like, oh, it's a burger. And then you can't really taste the fries; they don't really
Were
taste
there
like
pickles?
anything. Yeah, there's.
Oh, gross.
But I mean, you can't.
Pickles are that's a strong
I
taste.
just plugged my nose and drank it, and then hope that helped me not taste it too much. And we got to the point where both of us had drunken the same amount or drank the same amount, and so
Consumed.
Ooh,
Not
that's a
drunken
good one.
at a church.
yeah,
Not at all.
ingested
Never.
the same
Never.
amount,
Drank it.
danced, ingested the same amount, and then there was a time limit put on it because we were taking way too long, and so it was whoever drinks the most within the next 1 minute or something. And I remember I won by just barely, and neither of us finished the whole thing because it's like a blender full of this stuff, right? So anyways, so sorry that I don't have any like cooking mishaps. I've been
still
trying.
food.
I've been
That's food
trying to
related.
Yeah.
trying to think of some, and I can only think of situations of like bad patrons at the restaurant I worked at,
yeah.
or things
I
like
mean,
that.
you
That's
could
not really, but
you could tell those stories. They're always fun.
maybe.
Um,
You have another.
I
one?
was very competitive and still am, perhaps. In youth group in high school, and so I did lots of eating things. But one of the worst ones was Vegemite and Marmite.
I have never.
I've never tried them.
Yeah, they're a taste.
and a half.
They're interesting, and it's a food that people like.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it's just so strong, and I don't even know how to describe the taste that it is, but it was just so strong. And they had us to do it. They had us just scoop it and eat it. So we
it
weren't
wasn't,
eating
like,
it on
spread on
toast or
toast or
anything.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Yikes.
just a school thing. It wasn't even youth group. It was winning for my class, something for my class, which I don't remember if I did or not, but I probably did because I don't stop when there's prizes on the line. So,
in reference to Ashlynn's earlier comment about not having reviews to look at for recipes, I also enjoy doing recipes that are online, and I don't necessarily go for the one that I find has the most reviews. I just go for the one, I don't even know if I have a strategy for it, but if I'm looking up like oven roasted potatoes or something because I forgot from the last time that I made it what seasonings taste the best in them or something like that, I'll look for the one, I'll try to track down the one that I saw the last time, which is sometimes difficult if you don't bookmark it. Just look through your browser history or something. But I also look through the ones that have the relatively easiest recipe to follow, and that's really hard to do online because sometimes they don't even give you all of the ingredients. Well, they will give you the ingredients, but it'll be buried within the paragraphs about how to mix it with which thing next. And then the ingredients list might be at the very bottom underneath all the comments or something weird. And so I always just end up skipping over those pages. But the thing, and I'm sure everybody that's listening to this, or most people can relate, the thing that bugs me the most about looking for the recipes online is the sob stories of how you got
their whole life story.
Yeah, like
before the recipe.
This is a great green pea frittata that I learned from my grandmother in the old country.
Who
and
died.
I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you how to make it. Step 1. It
Your
was
grandmother
a brisk
has
fall
to die.
evening.
Yeah.
It's like this doesn't count. But anyways, I just have to throw that in there. Like I do enjoy finding recipes online, and I find it way easier because it's less work for me to order those meal prep boxes. And
yeah, we like those.
So we enjoy those. They are expensive, so you kind of have to wait until you have the money to do it regularly, or just try a bunch of different trials of them to see which one does it best. They all work relatively the same, and it's usually no hassle. The only issue I've ever run into with it once was we did a white wine sauce or something, and for one of the recipes, and part of it was you had to cook off the wine.
Yeah.
But there gets to a point where the wine just starts to completely evaporate and has stopped, and so pretty much, so then at the end there's like nothing in the pan, and I'm just like, I'm doing what the recipe's telling me to do, and now there's nothing. So I don't,
turned wine into air.
Yeah. Reverse Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But yeah, so that's my experience.
When I look for a recipe online, I look for the one that I have all of the ingredients for.
Yep.
That's really my only necessary thing.
I think I do it the other way. I think I see what ingredients I have and then decide what I want to make from that and try to find something that will fit those parameters. Or is that what you're saying you do?
You used a lot more words.
like I look through my cupboards and I go, oh, I have this stuff. Maybe I'll try making something like this. I'm curious if there are any more ingredients I need. And then I look online, and if I find, I don't have time and it wants time, well, I'll make it anyways. Or, it wants time and I don't have time. I can't make it.
But I just decide what I want to make and then find a recipe that fits the things that I have in the house.
That's fair.
Or it needs time, like 30 minutes, and I don't have time. So I just skip it.
But
I was going to say, wait, we have like this like fancy podcast thing here. I can probably switch back and
the purple one.
Oh, it's muted. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Nice. Did you miss it again? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know, like, you talking about, Chris, you forgot your name for a second, obviously. It's making me so
Chris.
Nervous. Yeah.
I'm Holly.
Thank goodness we do those intros at the beginning. Yeah, no, for myself, I definitely came to mind where we went for a youth group kind of like trip retreat thing to a Bible camp. And so I think it was like Red Berry or something. And the food there is great, which is awesome because camp food is always delicious. But we had split up into groups and we're supposed to do these skits, and our group decided to do like a fear factor skit.
Oh no.
So where we did like, so we had like a mystery drink was the first one that we all had to like drink. So it was like, ended up being Sprite mixed with milk.
Ew.
which wasn't super great.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
I
because
feel like my stomach would just roil at the beginning.
I've had things
Bubbles plus lactose.
that people have
Yeah,
called
yeah.
brown cows, which
Oh,
some
yeah.
people call it something different, but it's
I've heard
root
of
beer
that.
and milk,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a 50-50 split, or maybe
That's like more like a really watered down float.
like
Well, that's what I was
exactly, and I think
thinking
that's why
too.
it's okay. And
Which-
people do Sprite.
that would be
floats,
Sprite
so I'm
too.
trying to think.
Yeah.
Like I don't know
It's
that
just-
would be terrible.
It's just yucky sounding.
But so we did that, and then the other there was a second one that wasn't food related where we jumped off the roof of the building, but we actually just put the clothes that we were similar to wearing. We would just put into this like stuffed pillow, and so it looked as if somebody who was us was jumping outside and then landed on the ground.
And
So
got crushed.
and then, they just kind of landed on their face. But, we said that they were fine, and then
We said that they
and
were
then
fine.
Continued on.
They're okay.
And then the third thing was, I guess we wanted to really dig deep into our biblical roots, especially the kind of the prophetic roots of John the Baptist. And so we ate grasshoppers.
Bugs.
But the problem was we wanted to have them killed before we ate them, right? Like you don't want to eat live grasshoppers.
Right. So you smushed them.
So, we first tried to freeze them. That didn't work. Then we tried to drown them, and that didn't work. And so,
Those poor grasshoppers.
that's what I was thinking too.
I hope we don't get taken down by
No, we'll
the
have to
grasshopper
put. We're
lovers of
definitely going to have to put an
Saskatchewan.
explicit
Yeah.
on tag on this episode.
Yeah, well, especially after this last one. So, and the last thing that we could do, which speaking of John the Baptist, we had to cut off their heads in order to actually kill them.
See, that seems like
Interesting.
that should have been option one.
Or just squish
should have
them, I
been.
guess, but
Or
But,
just not eat grasshoppers. Are we missing the point here?
And then-
where you're eating grasshoppers?
Well, we
Disgusting.
coated them in icing, so it actually
so they just
wasn't too
slid
bad.
down.
Ew.
So, it was the honey portion, like locusts and honey, that
okay.
kind of thing.
That doesn't
How
make
did you
it
try
okay.
to freeze them?
What?
I want to know how you
We
tried
just put
to
them in
freeze
the freezer.
For how
In a
long?
container?
For like 6 hours.
And they weren't dead?
And
No.
they weren't dead.
oh, no.
Like, what happened?
So sorry for
here?
those
Don't
creatures.
they're resilient, I guess. I don't.
That's crazy. I
understand.
want to know.
I guess
how-
these are Saskatchewan grasshoppers, so they can like
must
survive the
survive.
winter.
Yeah, I'm looking
right?
it up.
So,
Do they hibernate or eggs or?
They must hibernate because if they all die off, then there's none left.
yeah.
So they must do something. I haven't seen any grasshoppers this year.
Oh, I have.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've seen a few, but not many.
I was going to say this year's been real weird with not being outside for the first bit of spring and summer, and then being outside, but like you can't. There's no huge gatherings in parks and stuff, and so you don't go to the
Yeah,
same
you
places
don't
or do
spend
the
as
same
much time.
activities.
Yeah,
According to my 5-second Google search, that should have worked.
it should have.
Yeah, they prefer
not.
like temperatures around 30 degrees.
Okay, preference
Celsius.
is different from.
It's only 6 hours as well, right? Like
Right. But they thermoregulate by getting their heat from the outside. And so then
Yeah.
it would have slowed their metabolisms down significantly until they died.
They just went into cryogenic sleep. And
Basically,
thought that they were
probably.
being taken to a different planet, but ended up being nope. They were just taken to the kitchen counter.
To be drowned.
No, they got
To be
Well, I think we
drowned?
tried the drowning first. So after the cryogenic chamber, they were just it was a swift end. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
I have
Anyways.
another story from this is a friend of ours. This isn't my experience, but she lived with a roommate who was trying to cook something on the stove. Was she cooking oil for some reason? She was maybe trying to deep fry something
I don't know what you're talking
in the
about.
stove, and somehow the lid ended up lodged in the ceiling, and the whole kitchen ended up on fire. Like this is
Wow.
in.
I can't hear you through these
Okay,
headphones.
she can't hear me through the headphones. It's okay. I don't want to name names, but anyways, that's the very short version of the long story. Is that
always
the
bleep
roommate
it out.
wasn't. I don't have a button for that. I don't want to go to the work of editing this podcast if I don't have to.
Okay, but if we're telling friends stories,
Well, I just wanted to say, because I didn't have a.
I
good
have
story
just
myself.
such an unfortunate. It was so sad story. My very good friend Heidi had been at home and when we were living together and was making soup all day long. She made soup from like the bones of something like stock. Yeah. And she had been making it all day long, and she got to the end of it and she was like, I need to strain out the bones. And so she got the strainer in the sink and then poured the soup through the strainer. And when she was like 3/4 of the way done pouring the soup, she was like, no! And she had just poured the actual
strainer.
soup down the drain.
No.
It was so sad. She was very upset.
That's like just as tragic as like Kevin's chili from The
Yes,
Office.
Kevin's chili.
Yeah.
It's so
That's
sad.
iconic.
Yeah.
You can actually get those little Funko Pops that
Okay.
Holly and I
Him with
collect.
the- with the
Yeah,
chili.
him with his pot of chili, I'm pretty sure.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah. She was not very impressed.
Yeah.
It was really, really funny for
That's
the
too
rest of
bad.
us.
As far as restaurant experiences, I've had bad restaurant food, but my problem is that I want to avoid conflict. And so they could bring me anything
Eggs
and
with
ask
sugar.
me
Yeah.
and ask me how it tastes, and I'll be like, it's great.
How's this
little
eggnog?
liar.
Yeah,
It's great
I am.
and crunchy.
No, there's
It's
so good.
It's got
So
such good
crunchy.
where I
crunch.
like order pasta and it's like it tastes like it just got out of like the refrigerator, like it's cold.
Oh, no.
And I tell everyone else at the table, it's like, this is weird, this is super cold. And then the waiter will come around and she's like, how are the first bites? And I was like, they're wonderful. I can't do it.
I don't think I've ever had that kind of experience with food. Like, there's not been anything really. There's things that have come that have things on them that I asked for to be off
I don't
of
want
them.
onions, or I didn't.
However,
want
I don't
tomatoes or
complain about
whatever.
that because I already was annoying enough to ask for them off. So I can just pick them out.
They'll never learn if you do it nicely. Okay, so having worked in the restaurant,
Yeah.
if there's something wrong, and you just they come around for that first bite or after that first minute or two of you eating, typically to check and make sure that it is what you ordered. And if you just tell them, hey, I hate to do this to you, but I actually didn't want these on. And could you take them off or just remake it? And it's a bit of a pain in the butt, but like 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, they don't think twice about it, especially if you don't make a big deal about it, then nobody talks about it after. But when you throw a stink about it, or you're just completely
Stomp your feet.
unsatisfied
Whine.
with whatever options you have available to you from that
for
point
fixing it.
for fixing it or for waiting or whatever. And I understand that people's time is precious, and so they don't want to be waiting an extra so long to get their food remade. But if you can work with them, because usually it's a mistake, unless you're a regular complainer, and then maybe it's not a mistake. I don't know. Like,
Yes.
for legal reasons, I can't say that is ever the case. But
My mom.
but what I want to say is that
I have a story.
okay, what I want to say is that if you work with the server or the manager or whatever, the story doesn't get spread around. You don't become that person that everybody talks about.
You don't have your picture in the back that's like,
Yeah.
beware, Chris is here.
So, yeah, some places might do that, but other places they just rant about you for the next 2 or 3 days. And then the next time you come in, if it's soon and they recognize you, then they're already rolling their eyes because you've
Because you made a fuss.
created this personality for yourself amongst the staff that you're a pain in the butt.
Yeah, my fear of that is real, and so I'd rather just say nothing.
So you just lie.
I mean,
Tastes
anyways,
wonderful.
My mom had a coworker when she was still working that would purposefully make their order as complicated as possible so that it would always be wrong so that he could always get his food for free.
Whoa.
and shocking that they would
Purposefully
still
and
go
like
out with this
told
person,
told his coworkers that was what he was doing. Like, I was so
Some
baffled
people.
that there are people out there that do that.
Can't
That's
even
so
rationalize
rude.
that.
Yeah. Like, scamming the system. Tell you.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, I want to. Do you have another story?
Yeah, like I mean, I can throw it in there.
Okay, I do want to get to that
We
story.
could name names, right?
Well, I've named several
Yeah,
names.
I named
As
it.
As long as you think that
Kelsey.
they're comfortable
Kelsey.
with being named.
No, this is like the restaurant name. It's not local, so
Okay.
How not local is it?
Is it a chain?
Is it from like a
Oh.
different continent?
I can't say too much about this.
Okay. Do your best judgment. If it's like horrendously,
We can always take it out.
Name the genre.
Well, the point of this
Name the genre
fun
of the
thing
restaurant?
is to not
Food.
take anything
We can-
out.
the cuisine
Okay.
variety.
Oh, I see. Okay,
did you
I do.
The
say?
She said
genre.
the genre.
Okay.
So I do
I
want
love
to get
it.
to Greg's
Umbrella term.
last
It is.
story.
Yes.
But first of all, thank you for sticking with us this long and listening into the fall. The summer was kind of a gong show, and so you probably had a lot of free time. And if you're listening to us now, it's likely you're taking your time out of whatever school is still on for you or job that you're back at, hopefully, or yeah, we just appreciate you spending your time with us, and we enjoy doing this kind of stuff, so we're going to continue to try to do it. If you have ever a story or comment related to what we're talking about on that episode, the description, regardless of where you listen to this episode, the description box for it on each of the services should have a link at the bottom of the description box that's posted automatically that just takes you straight to our anchor.fm page, and it will let you leave a voice message for us, just like a voicemail. You can just leave us a little short story.
Talk to us.
Yeah, or email us at houseboundpodcast@gmail.com. And,
I like email at us.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm
Especially
going to
if you're
use that
unimpressed
from
with
now
our
on.
show.
Yeah.
You email at us.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a grasshopper lover or something.
Yeah.
We do have Facebook and Instagram, which you can direct message us there as well and interact with us on those services. And Twitter as well. We do have Twitter as well
We
now
do.
too, where we post episode clips. So, like I said, we will have this video posted online at some point because it's fun because we made the video, so why not? And yeah, I just wanted to get that out there so that people don't
Turn us
skip
off
it,
before
skip
the
it
last
at the end
story.
of the podcast. This is why they put commercial breaks in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can't skip without fear of missing part of the episode. So, yeah.
I don't know if they've necessarily waited for a good story, but anyways.
Well, make it good then.
Embellish.
There was a dragon. And no, I think probably one of the worst just general restaurant experiences. This wasn't necessarily food related, but in terms of like the service. So we were at a restaurant where we were pretty well done our meal,
Like
and
we,
the
the two
server,
of you?
the server came up. Yeah, I think there may have been a few other people, and
Okay.
the server came up and said, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave."
Oh,
We're like, "What?"
what did you do?
Yeah, you're making too much noise. We've gotten too many complaints. And it was because of Ashlynn laughing.
Oh.
Because Ashlynn has like a pretty, like if you can get her laughing at a really good joke,
Yeah.
which that's my goal in life,
That was
is to tell a
my
really good joke.
third time getting kicked out of a location for laughing.
Are you kidding
Holy
me?
smokes.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
but here's the thing, is that the restaurant was A&W. Like it wasn't even like a highfalutin fancy restaurant.
Was there older individuals having like coffee or something?
There may have been,
was there
but it wasn't
not
like
older
we were.
individuals having
that's
coffee?
not
But I
A&W.
really don't feel like we were being that
We weren't
loud.
being super loud.
That is
and it's
outrageous.
It's not like we were mad and yelling at each other. It wasn't like there was any kind of like fussing, screaming child
and
or
it's
anything.
A&W. It's disruptive. It's not like it's.
Yeah, that wasn't even that long
I mean,
ago. That was,
A&Ws
like,
are
3
now
years ago.
wasn't-
typically
yeah.
fairly quiet establishments.
What?
I feel like the
It's
only
fast
time
food.
We
you
weren't
take
there for
kids there.
breakfast,
nobody-
I don't think. Like,
No.
I don't know. I
That's
feel like it's just older.
crazy.
The
It was a
older
little
generation
weird,
that goes
and it
in
was
there.
definitely like, yeah, like we're done our meal. Well, we're gonna be heading out.
But that
so-
was, once again, that's where my like instinct of like chill the situation, be the pacifist. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm a leave. And
Yeah.
then everybody else
I'm
was
a
like,
leave.
no, this is weird.
I'm out.
Yeah. So I think
Aw.
we finished the last few bites of our teen burger, and then we just headed out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just one of those
Wow.
like, just really bizarre kind of experiences.
I can
and, Ashlyn, and then at
rude.
that point, Ashlyn was like, "Oh yeah, this is the third time I've
Yeah.
been kicked out of it."
That's insane.
I mean, I can understand that it's loud.
As someone who edits this
As-
podcast.
yes, as somebody who interacts with you on a laughing basis, like I have experienced
Yeah.
the laugh, but
Yeah.
also I am under the impression that.
But like it's
Well, no,
a
no,
happy
I'm not
noise.
under the impression. I
Yeah.
know for
You know?
sure that I have a couple of other friends that are also loud laughers.
Yeah.
And yes, I can see how that would be disruptive. And I guess if you're just in there screaming away, but I just...
Yeah, but it's a happy
know.
noise.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Wow, but
different
noise
if
is
you're...
still noise. Like
It
But
was
it's different if
we
you're
had a
screaming
kid living
angry.
upstairs in the upstairs suite from one of our
That was not a happy noise.
one of our previous rental properties that we were in.
Yeah.
And arguably he would be enjoying himself, but it was noisy. So noisy
But that was
doesn't
constant.
necessarily mean
That's different.
Yeah, it is different.
I don't know.
And like,
it does seem a little bit ridiculous.
They could have just told us, "Can you please stop telling jokes?" And we would stop telling jokes.
and then you would have been on
jokes.
the podcast telling about that.
Yeah.
instead, which
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Why don't you,
better,
the server,
but-
provide us with a really sad discussion topic? And we'll
Yeah.
just start from there.
Something serious. Do you have a card for that?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Discussion topics.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Pretty
Crazy.
eventful. I think this was a great episode because with video now people can like see us and know who we are.
Yeah.
And sitting straight across from you is so much
So much
better.
nicer.
Oh yeah, and you can respond way better. There's
Yeah.
no lag in the Zoom,
Yeah.
like where you have to probably edit it to make it not sound like we're super off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was less editing for me for sure. But anyways, that camera just died, so that means it's time to wrap up this episode. Join us next time, I guess. Thanks.
Sorry if that's too loud.